everybody. It is Friday, January 8th, 2016. I bet you thought I was going to say 2015, but I didn't. This is Radio Tokyo. I'm Jonathan. We're here. We're back, finally. And for some unknown reason, I decided to bring Nick on the show today. And we have a special guest, who we'll introduce in a moment. But first, Nick, how are you doing today? Are you fine? How was your new year? Are you alive? Did you blow yourself up with fireworks and at Christmas? Did you get the Red Ryder BB gun you wanted? Because I promise you, you'd shoot your rat at some point in time.
Let's see. My Christmas was pretty good, except my mom got sick, and then that led to me getting sick around New Year's, and then I've been sick ever since. So, yeah, it's been interesting. And I apologize to anyone listening if I sound stuffy or mumbled or whatever.
That's just gross,
I'm
Nick.
sorry, guys.
That's gross. But you know what? You're Nick. No one cares. Let's talk to our guest. You want to talk to our guest? Our surprise, super special guest that we have on the show that no one knows who it is. That I just invited.
And I got my BB gun, and I'm going to shoot you. That's my New Year's resolution.
Oh well, you are 8 days late on that. So.
No, it's for the new year. I'm going to shoot you in the new year.
Well, most people give up their resolutions within 6 days. You're at 8 days. So, you know.
Too bad. Anyways, hi, Lexii.
I love how you just ruined that for him. That is brilliant.
He did ruin it. And
it's why I'm here.
Complete stolen thunder. It was beautiful.
Thank you, Lexii. At least someone appreciates me.
No one appreciates you, even Lexii. Lexii, the thing is, Lexii is just nice. She's just nice to you because I don't. Lexii, why are you nice to him?
Why am I nice to you? I mean,
because I'm awesome.
Both have pretty valid. Really?
I think we're seeing your ego just shining today.
My ego or his ego?
Oh, his ego, of course. That definitely his ego.
Well, see, okay, look. Before we got on, we were talking about something that's hilarious, and that's what I want to bring up again. So, if we're gonna talk about egos, I'm gonna talk about the ego of M. Night fucking Shyamalan. So, Lexii, since you brought this topic up initially, why don't you explain what's going on?
Okay, well, premise, back in the late 80s, early 90s, up until like 97, there was a TV series on HBO known as Tales from the Crypt, based off of a comic book series of the same name. This is a cult classic, and it has brilliant work. It's won several awards, and it has a standing cult following to this day. So TNT picked up the rights to it, and is now looking at producing it, which is great. The issue I and a lot of other people have is it's being picked up by Mr. Signs and the Sixth Sense himself, the schlock artist that is M. Night Shyamalan.
I think most people don't even remember those movies. You should give them something more recent.
The Happening?
Oh, wait,
that's the one with the trees, right?
If
we can do Transformers.
If we're gonna go with recent Shyamalan movies, then that leaves Avatar: The Last Airbender, and from what I understand, whenever you mention Avatar and you're not talking about the cartoon, people get kind of violent.
Oh, there was After Earth. There was that.
Did anybody watch that?
John Travolta? Oh no, that's Battlefield Earth, right?
Young teenage girls.
Did anybody watch this?
That's with the Smiths, right?
Yeah.
I have not.
So just Nick has seen it. Like I said, has anybody watched it?
No, I haven't seen it either. So.
Oh, well then, like, see, this is why we weren't talking about egos, because this man is like, I'm gonna make a movie, and you're going to watch it. It's gonna be fantastic, and you're gonna like the movie because surprise, motherfucker. I don't know. Like, why does he continue to make movies? I mean, really, honestly, I think the best thing he ever did, really, really, and this is me grasping for straws here. The only thing that he did that I really enjoyed watching was actually Signs. That's it. That's like everything else I don't care about.
I like Sides. I like The Sixth Sense. But then again, I was much younger back then. I was maybe 16, 15. So my judgment might be biased from just me being young. Oh,
The
I will
only
give him
one.
Stuart Little. Apparently he wrote the screenplay to Stuart Little. I'll give him credit for that.
Because that's a really
That's all
hard
he did
story to
for
write.
me.
It was successful, I believe, is what Nick was going for.
Well,
No, I actually liked the movie. I liked that movie. It was a good movie. He didn't direct the movie. He didn't produce the movie. But apparently he did write the screenplay for the movie. So congratulations, M. Night. You did something.
His only movie that ever caught me off guard was The Village. And not a lot of people went and saw that because they were already getting disheartened after Signs.
well, see,
A film that was telegraphed so hard, it could only be topped by The Happening.
okay. The thing with the village is that the village really isn't that bad. I mean, I give the man less credit than I probably should. The village is actually a decent movie, and if you now it may not be perfect. You know, there may be plot holes all through it, and it may not make any fucking sense. Uh, but it's probably the point in time where he got, just to use the meme, or the quote from Robot Chicken, it's a twist. That's probably the point in time where he got the twist as close to being good as I think he ever might have gotten. And it's decent. Like, if you don't know going into it what's going on, yeah, it does have kind of a surprise ending. And like that's really the only point in time where he really did good with that to me. But
It
that's
was
me.
his pinnacle, probably a plateau for a while.
Yeah, like it's good. Uh, for
I
because
think
like I said,
I've seen The Village. I really don't remember it that well, though.
well, I'm gonna spoil it for you.
Isn't that
Uh,
where there's a small village and they're trying to keep the old way of life, even though they're in modern times now or something?
yeah, they're basically a village full of crazy
Yep.
people who do not have their medication, and they think that it's the 1800s, or they act like it is. But in reality,
Well,
they're in the modern world and they're just separated from society because they're out of their damn minds.
that's not quite true. It's technically the background's a lot more extensive. It's a social experiment presented by a bunch of cultural theorists who happen to have cash and the land and whatnot to isolate a culture and create their own culture of a very xenophobic existence, basing it back in, well, colonialish, pioneering times.
But see, the people also remember what it was like before they got sent there. And if I'm not mistaken, they had to be heavily medicated in order to get them to cooperate. So they're there and they're just, well, this is the old times, and we
That
don't
was
go beyond that wall for whatever reason.
that was never expressly stated. The concept was basically that they took a bunch of people who were all in agreement that we're going to take this culture back in the 70s is when they started it, and it's like we're going to start doing generations, and the first generation obviously is going to have to be liars. They're going to have to act and pretend, but we're going to see how far this can go. So they get a few generations down the road into the early 2000s, and that's where the movie takes place. They've effectively bred an ignorant society.
Well, see, okay,
Medication wasn't actually mentioned.
okay. The reason I'm talking about, like an isolated group of crazy people is because I don't know if anyone's been paying attention to the news or not, but we have apparently a terrorist organization in Oregon. It's all white people, and now apparently, like 5 days into their quote unquote siege and their stand against the government, on a wildlife reservation that was actually stolen from the Paiute Indian tribe in the 70s by the federal government, but it's been federal land since 1873, 74, I think. Long enough the people who originally owned it are long since dead. But anyway, people from other state are coming in here and they're taking the stand against the government because the government is oppressing their backbone. And like talking about signs is a really good way, I guess, to segue to talking about crazy motherfuckers and what is wrong with America right now. And I don't really get these people. I really don't. Like, why would you go take over a wildlife refuge when you have the chance, because you're armed. There's 300 of you motherfuckers. Why not, go towards another target like an actual place where people are going to give a shit instead of a wildlife refuge that is mostly open for bird watchers during the late spring and throughout the summer when it's closed and everything is frozen over and cold. Like, what message are you sending other than you're a bunch of failures?
The thing is, too, most of them are like ranchers and stuff making the stand, so it's like it's not even topical to them. It's like, now if they were like hunters and they were in like a sanctuary, they took over a sanctuary that was just recently converted and they wanted their hunting lifestyle back, that would make sense. But they're ranchers. This is marshland and whatnot that they can't even utilize for ranching. It's silly.
Here's where it gets interesting.
Silly people.
Here's where it gets interesting to me. What started this is, surprisingly, even though it's being put on by the same people, the Bundys, who wanted to take a stand against the government because they were taking away ancestral rights to property. Oh, wait, never mind. This is the same argument, but it's even dumber this time. The problem with the Bundy Ranch is that Cliven Bundy has not paid his taxes in, I think, 22 years. He has not paid the fees that he was required to graze his cattle on government property in the same amount of time. So the government came and took his cattle from him, and the ranchers stood up. I can kind of understand, being upset about that, because essentially the government came and took this man's livelihood from him. I get that argument. It makes sense to me. But when you don't pay your taxes and you don't cooperate with people that are in power, they kind of get upset about it. But this is his son's, apparently, and what started all this is a father and son in Oregon. Their last name is, I believe, Hammond. They were poaching on federal property, and instead of, being responsible and paying fines when they were in danger of being caught, they decided to burn, I think it's something like 125 acres of property to try and cover up the fact that they were poaching. So they they committed arson, essentially, to cover up the fact that they were poaching. So it was a crime committed to cover up another crime, and it was found out about, and they were sentenced to, I think, like 10 years in prison or something like that. They get out because they were able to, to pay their way out. And the Bundys get involved, like, oh no, this is government oppression. We can't have this going on. And so now 300 armed protesters, emphasis on protesters here, those of you who say that the Black Lives Matter movement needs to quit protesting, armed protesters, started rallying against the government, and then about 150 or so of them broke away took over the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, and now they're down, I don't know, 25, 30 people. The police have backed away. The FBI is no longer surrounding them. The FBI is watching them, but they're no longer surrounding the building because these people are armed. And they're threatening to shoot people if anyone comes in there, which is odd because they walk outside quite regularly and they will communicate with the news media. And they're very active on social media. They have even said that they want people to bring their guns and to come with them and to stand against the government with them. And also bring snacks because if you're going to take over the government, you have to remember not to leave your Twinkies at home. And that's what these dumbasses did. And it bothers me because the whole time I'm sitting there thinking, oh, if you just remove the fact that they're ultra
Terrorists?
well, no, they are terrorists. They're the thing. Like, I was trying to think of something that would actually separate them from a group like ISIS, but the fact is you can't. You can't. They're anti-government individuals who have very conservative values, and they're armed, and they're willing to stand up against the government because they think that they're being abused, and they're begging people to bring supplies to them and to come to their side. They're ISIS. They're American terrorists. I'm sorry, it's what they are.
The big thing separating them,
Do
and
they have a
well,
group
it's
magazine?
telegraphed right now. The biggest thing that separates them from ISIS, the only thing and the biggest, is that they're white.
Pretty much.
And I went there.
I thought it was that they didn't have a really well put together magazine.
Actually, you know what?
Do they have a magazine at all?
You know what? Excluding the fact that they're white, that really is it. They do not have a glossy print magazine. They don't have one. So.
So did that put them further away from terrorism, or put them further into terrorism category? That puts them more in, hey?
Yeah, I would say
Terrorists
more
have
in.
magazines.
Okay. Essentially, what I'm saying is that ISIS are the better terrorists. They have a magazine. Like they have a Twitter feed, which these people have. They use Facebook, which people do. They use YouTube, which people use YouTube. But ISIS has got a magazine, so they're better at being terrorists, I guess. Oh, and most importantly here, ISIS has actually managed to kill people and actually managed to take over property and cause actual problem. Like they've managed to actually disrupt the balance of power. These people are now internet memes, and they're a fucking joke. It's like, gee, America, we can't even terrorist properly. We are the most armed country on the planet, but we can't even terrorist people properly.
You guys haven't been able to terrorist properly since the Tea Party. Sorry, just saying.
And see, even then, all we did was put on Indian costumes and dump boxes off of boats. That's not nice job, America. I mean, we've gone from that to taking over a bird watching sanctuary.
That we own.
Yeah, that we own. That we well, and see,
Well, it's not even. It's like
the thing about this is the Malheur Wildlife Refuge, like I already said, initially belonged to Paiute Indians. It's their ancestral land. In fact, they owned most of Southeastern Oregon. The government comes in, puts them on a reservation thanks to Ulysses S. Grant, and what happens is the government, from the late 1870s up until about 1908 or so, kind of treated it like a reservation. Well, Teddy Roosevelt comes along, and Teddy Roosevelt, is one of those good old-fashioned hunters who loves animals to eat. He loves to shoot and eat animals. So what he does is he makes it into a life refuge. So it's government property from about 1872 onwards. He makes it federal property in 1908, and it's still federal property now. And what these dumbasses want to have happen is they want the government to give up their own property and give it back to the people who will use it, which would mean the 300 and some odd people that are alive that are Paiute Indians right now. It would be their land, and rightfully they should give all of southeastern Oregon back to these people. And while we're doing that, we need to just get our shit together, put it in the backpack, and get the fuck out of the country because we took land from the white people took land from everybody else. So we need to just leave. Get the fuck out. Leave. Bye.
It's just their arguments make no sense.
It doesn't. And if you follow the logical progression of what they're saying, the government has no right to own property, even though hint hint it's in the Constitution. Hint hint. Uh, they're talking about just unraveling society. Oh, okay. Who do you want to give the land to? The people who would use it. Okay. The people who traditionally used it are Paiute Indians. There's 300 of them left. Give it to them. No, we want to give it to the ranchers and farmers. Why? Because they'll use it. So they're going to go in and they're going to cut down all the trees. They're going to kill all the birds. They're going to hunt all the animals. And they're probably going to set fire to things. And to do what? Well, they're going to graze cattle. Oh, because Oregon is the greatest place in the world to graze cattle. With all the
In the
rain
swamp.
and everything else they have up there. That's the best
In the
place you can
swamp.
think of to put cattle.
They're gonna put cattle in the swamp.
Yeah. I'm sure that will work for you. But see, at the same time, that also brings up another important thing going on in America. And apparently, what this is the president gave a speech yesterday. It was about a 45-minute long speech. And I thought it was very nice. I really did. But he's upset some people because he's used his executive powers to institute uh, tougher gun laws because we certainly can't have that. We cannot have gun laws because the Second Amendment says you have the right to keep and bear arms. So we have to keep that. Even though in reality the Second Amendment actually says that a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, semicolon, which means a pause between two separate ideas which cannot be separated because you can't have one without the other, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So we have to have a right to keep and bear arms, to have a well-regulated militia for the security of a free state. Okay, the assholes in Oregon are calling themselves a militia. They are not well-regulated because the government has to regulate your militias. These people are not regulated by their own states. So they're regulating themselves, and as I mentioned earlier, they can't even remember to bring their own fucking snacks. They didn't, they're saying they're going to stay there for years, but they don't have enough food to supply themselves for a week. How regulated is your militia? Oh, but we have all the guns in the world. Good for you. Good for you. The United States has got about 2 guns per person on average, give or take. So, like, what are we going to do with this? I mean, it's kind of strange to think about. Oh, well, we're going to have all the guns. We're overly regulated. Ha ha ha. No, you're not. You're completely failing about being constitutional.
It's I don't understand the objection to having background checks. It it seems logical.
What? Wait, what does?
Just having background checks.
It does. It makes sense. I mean, even people at Fox News, Bill O'Reilly said the president was right about this. We need to have background checks. We need to have common sense background checks. We do. Sorry, what we do.
Sure, it's inconvenient, but it's necessary. Taking driving lessons is inconvenient, but it's necessary. Getting a degree is inconvenient to become a doctor, but it's necessary. It's just people are so obsessed with defending their right to own guns that they reject anything that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, and see, okay. Here's the thing that bothers me. Last night he was on CNN with Anderson Cooper, and hopefully this plays and everybody can hear it. But this is what the president had to say about what people are saying about his gun control thing.
No.
They just don't trust you.
I'm sorry, Cooper. Yes, it is fair to call it a conspiracy. What are you saying? Are you suggesting that the notion that we are creating a plot to take everybody's guns away so that we can impose martial law
but there's certainly
is
a lot of
a
people.
Conspiracy? Yes, that is a conspiracy. I would hope that you would agree with that. Is that controversial? Except on some websites around the country?
There are certainly a lot of people who just have a fundamental distrust that you do not want to go further and further and further down this road.
Look, I'm only going to be here for another year. I don't know. When would I have started on this enterprise, right? It is a false notion that I believe is circulated for either political reasons or commercial reasons in order to prevent a coming together among people of goodwill to develop common sense rules that will make us safer while preserving the Second Amendment.
And he's right. I mean, people have been saying for 8 years now that he's coming to take our guns. When's he going to do that? I want to know when my guns are going to be coming and taken away from me. I really want to know that. And what really bothers me is you two may have seen this when I posted about it on Facebook, but day before yesterday, there was another vote in Congress to repeal Obamacare. So the same people that want us to have more guns want to take away our health care because going along with repealing Obamacare, they can defund Planned Parenthood. The problem is that repealing Obamacare, actually right now Obamacare, whether it's repealed or not, is going to cost American taxpayers nearly $1.5 trillion from now until 2025, whether it's repealed or not. Okay, it's going to add $353 billion to the deficit, and it will cost 24 million or more people in the country their health coverage. Not to mention the fact that if you repeal Obamacare, the corporations that the Republicans stood up and said, well, we want to do this because we don't want to have to pay for abortions. If you get rid of that, that's exactly what you're going to have. You're going to have to make companies like Hobby Lobby and Chick-fil-A out of pocket are going to have to pay for all healthcare things, including abortions. Now, if you get rid of Planned Parenthood, you're going to see the abortion rate rise nearly 2 to 3 times higher than what it is. It's political bullshit. It's all conspiracy theories, and I think that's honestly what it is that gives people like the assholes in Oregon their right, their assumed right to do what they're doing. And it's sad that we have gotten that far.
That's the segue.
What is?
That's the segue.
Apparently, that's the segue, guys. I hope everyone understood that.
Yeah. See, like I completely forgot, what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about something, a real topic, and yeah, now that you mention it, yeah, that is a good segue to Star Wars. But yeah, that's a that's a good way to segue to Star Wars, because
you need to learn how to type or something.
Seriously, use your keyboard. It's right there.
Are you two exchanging dirty messages?
Yeah,
Maybe a little.
That's what we do the entire show.
Oh,
It's
okay.
kind of how we put up with you.
Anyway, it makes me think a lot about the First Order, and how like in Star Wars, because the First Order is supposed to be the remnants of the Empire 30 years later, and they're essentially neo Nazis, and that was what J.J. Abrams said. There are people who are tired of all this government interference, and yet they started a government, and they're committing terrorist acts. Yeah, well armed people who are a bunch of conspiracy theorists because they think the Jedi never existed.
Well armed.
Yeah,
Oh, the First Order's not the. I'm thinking differently.
Yeah.
the First Order is actually
I'm
quite
gonna
well
say
armed.
they're running around with melee weapons.
Well,
I was thinking like the
They
Jedi
do.
Order,
They do have melee weapons, but
but they also have ranged weapons.
yeah, yeah. Nick and I, by the way, we were right. We predicted that they were going to have some kind of new Death Star-like weapon. We were a little bit wrong on the size. It's actually far larger. So if you haven't seen the movie, just be aware that that's kind of a spoiler. But we were right. They do have a super weapon. It's quite big. It's quite badass, and what it does is actually fucking amazing. Um, yeah, the First
That
Order is
had to be one of the coolest things I've seen in a while. Just the destructive power of it.
yes,
It was quite impressive.
So it tops Alderaan.
yes.
Yes, by far.
Awesome.
It they have upped the ante on destructiveness. I'll say that.
I'm still gonna use the verb Alderaan, so.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I'll just go ahead and say what they do. Okay. Um,
Oh yeah.
their super weapon is called Star Killer Base. Now, what it does,
Isn't that who made Venture Brothers? The studio?
I think so.
Astro Base, that's right.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
right. But
Sorry.
okay, anyway, what Star Killer Base does is it's a planet. It's a giant planet. They're actually able to move the planet through space, through hyperspace, in fact, because they have built a giant engine, intake on one side of the planet and the outtake on the other one. The ventilator, whatever you call it, the other end. It's built directly from the surface down into the planet's core, and what it does is it kills a star by sucking all the energy in it right down to the planet's core. Now there are this is not explained in the movie. I had to look the shit up. Okay, there is the planet's natural magnetic field is what they use to contain the power of the star. But because it's a star, they can't actually contain it all, so they have to vent part of the energy, and that's how. But that's how they're able to move. That's how they were able to construct um, this huge, huge Star Destroyer. And by huge, I mean imagine the Executor, and this one is about that same length. It's built more like a normal Star Destroyer, but it's about the same length of the Executor. It's a gigantic fucking ship, in other words. Okay, it's so large that they don't really need Starkiller Base as to have troops on. But it has probably two. It has probably enough room for 2 or 3 times the size of the garrison of Starkiller Base. It's gigantic. Okay, huge. With this one ship, they're able to go anywhere and do whatever they want to, and not be stopped. Essentially, okay, it's very powerful. I'll put it that way, because they're neo-Nazis and they want to be everything better. And yes, I keep saying neo-Nazis, and that's the truth. J.J. Abrams already says what they are. Okay. Anyway, Circular Base pulls in the power of a star, destroys it, and by the time the sky goes completely dark, because the star is not there, the weapon's ready to go. So it takes about 15 minutes, something like that. But the weapon itself is it it projects this energy in a beam, and they're able to separate it, even though it has like one. Okay, like with the Death Star, you had the little the
It's kind of like a ballistic missile.
yeah, yeah,
Ballistic missile.
yeah, exactly like that.
And instead of just one big missile, it's a ballistic missile with lots of
Yeah,
little warheads.
pretty much. Uh, like with the Death Star, you had the array of lasers that would come together and focus into one big one. No, this one starts out as a big one, and it's able to split. Okay, what they do is they essentially destroy the New Republic. I didn't say a city. I didn't say a planet. They destroy the New Republic itself. The entire government of the New Republic is destroyed with one shot. Um, you find out when you read about this because it's in books and what happened after the Battle of Endor. A year and 4 days later, in fact, you had the Battle of Jakku, which is what you see all the ships and everything that Rey is digging through. This was a big ass battle where the final remnants of the Empire battled the rebellion, uh, and they were soundly beaten. By soundly beaten, I mean what you see in the movie itself, like all the crashed ships. That's not everything that's there. Uh, the Republic was able to shoot down uh, at least two Executor class Star Destroyers and nearly everything that the Empire had brought. Their troops were in such disarray once they hit the ground that they were essentially all murdered by rebellion troops. They could just land their forces and wipe them out. Okay, big, huge, be all end all battle, and we're talking about a battle at the point where the Empire has their ships on the ground, and they're just using tractor beams to start pulling rebel ships down the planet surface with them. I mean, it was a huge, catastrophic battle. Um, that caused a lot of problems on Jakku, which is kind of understandable because you're essentially destroying the atmosphere. Anyway, um, fast forward 29 years because it's 30 years after Battle of Endor, but in reality it's 29 years. Okay, so the First Order has taken all that ability and they've made it better, and that's the whole premise of the First Order is that they are better than the Empire ever was. They build a weapon that they're able to destroy the Republic government itself because the New Republic government did not settle on one planet. They didn't go with Coruscant. They didn't go with any other planet at all. They decided to have a rotational government. So the Republic is destroyed by the First Order, and it's insane. It's one of the most beautiful sequences in the entire movie. But when you understand the context for it, it's even more disturbing exactly what they were able to do.
I do kind of wish they explained more about how the Republic was set up in the movie. It seemed like that was something we really didn't. You had to read the books for to really to get or understand. Hello?
Apparently, I had my mic muted. Um,
Oh.
I was going to answer, and then
That's why it was so pleasant.
and it was muted, and I had anyway. I did a video a while back that Nick was not on, Lexii was not on, but I talked about a hatred that I have for a particular character in this movie, and I want to apologize to all of you uh, because in reading, what is now the backstory for this movie, I have learned so much, and it makes the movie much more like I read all this and I went back and watched it again, and it's much better. And yes, you are right. If there was some way of acknowledging, the way the New Republic government is set up, it would make a lot more sense. But the idea that J.J. Abrams wanted in this movie is just to have the movie and you be able to watch it, and you don't have to worry about all the needless dialogue. Essentially, he didn't want to have Episode 1 where you see the Senate and it's like, well, talking about trade negotiations and shit like that. He didn't want to do that. He wanted to have an action movie. But what you see is them destroying the entirety of the New Republic. Uh, the largest Republic fleet is gone, so now you have the Resistance, which is, believe it or not, a partisan group formed by Leia because the Republic government would not listen to her about how dangerous the First Order actually was. Because after the Empire was
So
defeated,
basically, so basically, she formed an extremist group to fight an extremist group.
yeah, yeah, she does. She does. The Resistance is essentially a terrorist group against the First Order.
I'm okay with that.
I am too, and it works. It really does. But anyway, like I was gonna say, yes, I owe everyone an apology because I was actually wrong about one character. Uh, the video is about Finn versus the Riot Trooper. If you want to go watch it, go watch it. It's you can pause this show and go watch it if you want to. But my problem was that I thought that the Riot Trooper was a throwaway character. I didn't think he had any purpose, and as it turns out, he actually does. This trooper uh, is actually essentially the messmate of Finn. When okay, okay. I have to explain this. The way the First Order gets their soldiers is they kidnap them as children and they indoctrinate them while they're growing up. Okay, they're not clones; they're actual living kids. Okay,
Yeah.
so what happens is FN 2198, which is Finn, has three other messmates. Their fire support team, whatever term you want to call them. That's what they are. They train together. They grew up together. Okay. There's a children's book. It's aimed at kids that explains this. It's not in the movie. But the reason that you see the Riot Trooper stand up, throw down this shield and his gun, and pull out Mr. Swingy Baton of Awesomeness that he has, and call Finn a traitor, which led to the fan name TR8R, traitor. The reason this all happens, it's confusing. Like, how would this trooper know who Finn is? Thus far, only we, the audience, have seen Finn in his trooper armor with his helmet off. So how does this person know who he is? Easily. He's met him before. And that was something I thought about, and I'm like, okay, it never crossed my mind, because you see him there with the lightsaber. Well, you would think this normal, sane individual would look at him and say, "Oh, you have a lightsaber. I thought that was a mythical weapon, because Jedi are kind of a myth at this point in time." So he's looking at the lightsaber, and you would think, "Oh, well, I'm gonna back up." No, this guy attacks him. There's a reason he attacks him, and this is where the apology comes from. Because I'm sorry, I was so very wrong about this trooper. His actual number is FM 2199. His squad name was Nines. Okay, uh, Nines uh, was one of the more aggressive students that was in Finn's group, and Finn caused problems for Captain Phasma. Captain Phasma being the Boba Fett of this of this movie. And see, here's the beautiful thing: everyone's upset about Captain Phasma. Well, she doesn't actually do anything. Neither did Boba Fett. Boba Fett did nothing. He did nothing at all. I'm sorry, he has about 3 lines in 2 movies, and he dies. That's what he does.
That's pretty much what he does.
Really, it's sad. I mean, Boba Fett's this great, amazing character, but he didn't do anything. Okay, and
I think the only problem was that one Riot Stormtrooper was so cool that everyone just associated him as the new Boba Fett for some reason.
yeah, and see, here's the thing. His backstory makes it even more compelling. Finn showed empathy. Okay, Finn um wanted his soldiers that worked with him to do better. And he was so good at being a stormtrooper that he could have possibly been promoted to replace Captain Phasma. But Phasma didn't like this, and she did not like the fact that Finn showed empathy. So she continually held him back. And there was another soldier whose name was Trip or Slip or something like that. Anyway, he always kept making mistakes, and during training, he would have something go wrong, and Finn was continually, being nice to him and trying to tell him it's okay. I'll work with you. We'll get better. And like I said, Phasma didn't like that. She thought that Finn needed to be meaner to people. Okay, and it's thought that in the opening battle, which is beautiful. Okay, it's almost a perfect sequence. The reason I'm saying almost is because the character that Max von Sydow plays, you don't know who the hell he is. Okay, but he has a name, and I thought he was Bail Organa. 30 years older. That would have worked for me. I could have gone with that. I could have said, Jimmy Schmitz will become Max von Sydow in 30 years. I could have gone with that and been okay. But no, he's actually the throwaway character. Uh, but there's a point in time in there where you see Finn pop up and he raises up his hand. Oh, I'm sorry. A dying trooper, grabs Finn's helmet, and that's the point in time that Finn snaps and wakes up and comes to reality. Is when this person touches his hand, and what it is, it's this person in his squad theoretically, uh, who was always screwing up, and here he is. His screw up has cost him his life, and Finn realizes that. So what happens later on is you run into Nines uh, during this battle, and Nines is like, you. He looks at him and he realizes who Finn is, and he calls him a traitor, and that's why he attacks him.
That's interesting. That's also I want to see him and Finn fight again. I really do. That was one of the coolest, best parts of the movie.
But see, like originally, I thought he was just this throwaway sequence that was just shown, that was just there to show, how awesome Finn has become. Like, no, no, there's an actual reason that he calls him a traitor, and it makes sense. Like see, Disney was so against, having the expanded universe, but now they've had to add it in because people want to fucking know what all these things are. Like they want, like, uh, the baton it uses to actually got a name for it. Uh, like all these places that got names, and there's a list somewhere of all the flags that I can't think of her name. I just forgot her name. The new
Oh,
Yoda.
yeah.
Maz Kanata, is it? Maz Kanata. She has like all of her flags represent stuff from Star Wars. There is even the real world 501st Legion's emblem on a flag. There's a flag of the Mandalores. There is a pod racing flag. A bunch of shit is thrown in there, and people want to know, what all this stuff is and how it got here. There was even a sequence in the movie where you saw how she wound up with uh, Anakin Skywalker's lightsaber.
Yep. Which also raises very interesting questions about Ren.
About who? About Maz?
No, Ren. Or Ray. I'm sorry, Ray.
Yeah, I do that too. Like I always call them, like Ren, and because I guess I'm crazy, and it's like Finn and Ray.
It's like one letter difference.
It's weird. It's a weird.
It's so easy to mix them up.
It is. But I think Lexii has gotten quiet for some reason.
Lexii.
Anakin's saber? How the heck did, that was taken by Obi-Wan, given to Luke, who summarily lost it like a toad at Cloud City when he started pissing and moaning.
I did
Or are
kind
we
of wonder
talking like
how
a
exactly
saber?
did she end up with that?
That thing would be obliterated falling to the planet's surface. It doesn't make sense.
Well, see, there was a deleted scene that was not like I again found this out, by looking into the background and everything. The scene would have shown Luke's hand in space, somehow floating through space, and then at some point in time, Maz Kanata gets it. I don't get it. I really don't.
What?
Whatever the fuck.
He
Works.
was within a planet. atmospheric
I know.
planet, like the planet with atmosphere, would have fallen straight down, and it would have burned up. The weapon itself would have probably been broken apart into multiple tiny little fragments, if not blown up into vapor because of the frigging internal power source going off. Because we have to remember how fucking volatile lightsabers really are.
I think
Yeah,
what we're
I know.
saying is we all agree it doesn't make sense, but apparently it is canon.
Wow. They really shit the bed on that cannon.
Like, I was also confused. I was like, how did... It would have made more sense if it was Luke's second lightsaber. Uh, you know.
The blue one or whatever. Or was
Or
it the green one? The green one he had second. Because the blue one he got directly from Kenobi.
Yeah. That was Anakin's original lightsaber.
Well, not his original one. I believe he lost his original one in episode 2 or whatever.
Or
he ended up
Anakin's
getting a
standout lightsaber.
The one he had when he went dark.
Yeah.
The one he had when Obi-Wan chopped his legs off and set him on fire. You're gonna learn that, boy. That was... Yeah.
Well, see, the problem with that is it was on the second Death Star, and it was blown up. So, you know.
What was on the second Death Star? His lightsaber?
Yeah.
He didn't lose it. He stopped using it when he was, like, redeeming his father. He probably just stuffed it in a belt pouch or... Did he throw it away?
Yes.
I haven't watched it in a while.
It's the point in time where he says, "I am a Jedi like my father before me," and he throws it away.
Huh.
Well, there's that. Maybe it was like the one he trained, a training lightsaber they had at the school before Anakin went and, ganked all the kids. It's like, this is Master Anakin's lightsaber, and it was like on display or something. It's the one he made, when he was your age, as a display, as opposed to,
Well, see,
because that would make sense if it was like his trainer or something.
See,
because I know they do have separate lightsabers for training.
The problem with doing that is that,
I just had to...
it really wouldn't matter whether he had kept it or not, because another possible spoiler, something happens. Yeah.
Well, go on. I'm curious.
Well, come on.
Okay, so you really want to know what happens?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
We're here.
Okay, what happens is Kylo Ren is one of his students, and he murders all the kids, just like his granddaddy did. Woohoo!
Well, actually, are we sure that Kylo Ren was the traitor?
Yes.
Does it, or was it Supreme Lord, whatever his name is?
Okay. Without spoiling the rest of the movie,
Sarnock or whatever.
Without spoiling it, Kylo Ren was a student of Luke Skywalker. Okay. Kylo Ren,
we know that.
Kylo Ren is a relative of Darth Vader. I'm not going to say how he's a relative, but he's related to him. And he goes,
come on, there's like...
Well, you kind of have to explain how he's a relative later anyways.
Okay, fine, fuck it. He is Luke's nephew, and in the movie, they even say that he has too much Vader in him, and that's the whole purpose for Kylo. See, I actually wanted to do a separate video where I talked about Kylo Ren because everyone seems to hate him and they call him emo Vader. Uh, but the reality is that you're supposed to dislike him. You're supposed to. He is a fucking failure. He's not able to even build a properly functioning lightsaber. That's why his has got that crackly effect to it. And that's why it has to have what everyone's calling the saber guard. It's actually not a saber guard. It's vents for the
It's a
energy.
heat.
It's a vent.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, his lightsaber, for some strange reason, because he's a dumbass, he got a cracked crystal to build the lightsaber out of, so it's in danger of exploding. So instead of having a normal functioning lightsaber like his granddaddy did, he has to build a cobbled together piece of shit with vents on it so it doesn't explode in his fucking face like a moron.
To be fair, canon-wise, those crystals are extremely hard to find. And then, you know, after the Jedi Order and stuff fell apart, like, it would be pretty fucking hard to know where to find appropriate crystals. Because they're also utilized for You don't make a fake one.
Yes.
Try and fire plasma that way?
It is established canon,
Bad
even
idea.
in these new movies, that you can just use a fake crystal. You no longer have to have the crystal mines of Ilum to get a crystal. You can make a fake one.
Really?
I'm sorry, you don't have
Wow.
to. Yeah. The Sith
But-
Empire.
But if he's learning the Jedi code, that's what he's going to have to use. The Sith, yeah, they'll cheat, they'll skim. So will any other groups that use it. But a Jedi, and with that's probably with you, he's going to have to get a real crystal. So, yeah, you can't blame him too much for that. And frankly, he's also Han Solo's kid, so he's also going to be extremely skeptical and half-ass shit. Because, well, Han Solo half-assed a lot of shit.
I can blame him entirely because he wanted to be like Darth Vader. He wanted to have all the power that his grandfather had. He was driven by that. That's his whole purpose for existing, is to be as powerful as his granddaddy was. And he can't. He physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually cannot be Darth Vader because Vader went through some serious shit. He had some serious shit going on.
So he's a failure at being a Jedi and a failure at being Vader at the same time.
Yes.
The big we fail.
He is such a failure at everything he does that go back and watch the movie and just listen to the way that General Hux talks to him. Hux talks down to him like a parent does to their kid. He's like, "Fuck you, I'm the one in charge here. You may have a lightsaber, you may be able to wield the Force, but I'm the one that's actually in charge." Now compare and contrast that with Vader in the meeting with Grand Moff Tarkin and the other Empire, the other Imperial officers on the Death Star. Okay, I cannot
it was
his name to save my life, but the guy says you're sad, the your sad devotion to that ancient religion line, and Vader just force chokes the shit out of him. Okay, Vader does that. Kylo Ren cannot do that. Kylo Ren does not do that to Hux. Hux just walks all over him because Kylo Ren is a fucking little bitch. Okay? That's what he is. He's a failure at everything. He is whiny. He is everything essentially that Anakin Skywalker could have been had George Lucas been able to make a good goddamn movie, but he didn't make a good character. He had to screw it up and make it all emotionally stilted. And this is what you have as a result of that. You have a better character in probably one of the worst characters that you should theoretically have in Star Wars. You have a better version of one of them. Okay. If you were to switch Kylo with Anakin, it would make more sense for Vader to be how he is. Really. It really would.
He is a much better character than Anakin ever was or could be. I mean, the difference is astounding, honestly.
And see, like what messes it up for me is all George Lucas had to do. All he had to do was put some emphasis on what was going on with Anakin instead of worrying about trade negotiations and stupid bullshit. Let
And
Anakin realize,
another thing
hey,
is they never really show Anakin screwing up or
you
doing
don't.
something
You
wrong.
see, that's the thing. You never see it because George Lucas could not write the. He's even admitted that he could not write the character. He couldn't do. He could not get himself in the mind of a teenager. It's not that hard to write. J.J. Abrams did it. It's really because I guess you were never a teenager, who had problems with society. I mean, think about it this way, okay? Anakin Skywalker could have been so much better, even in the prequels. It would have been they would have been better if Lucas had looked at Anakin and said, "Look, I have to have a focal point here. I have to have a character is going to become evil, but I have to show you how he switched from being this precocious little arrogant child to being this person who will willingly choke someone just because they look at him crossways. Okay? You have to have that personality switch. And what he chose to emphasize was the relationship with Padme. No, no, no. That should have come out of Anakin's disagreements with the Jedi Order. Look at the way they treated him when they put him on the council. Anakin says, but no one has ever been on the council without ever being a master. And Obi-Wan's like, shut up. Just shut up. We're doing you a favor. No, Anakin had a right to be pissed. He had a right to be pissed. And he was no longer a Padawan of Obi-Wan Kenobi at that point in time. He was essentially
Not
his own Jedi Knight by himself.
not only
He could
that, but it
hang
seemed
on,
like
hang on,
he didn't
hang
have
on,
a right to be
hang on.
pissed.
He could take an apprentice, and in fact, he did in the Clone Wars. He took on Ahsoka Tano. He was his own Jedi Master, and she even called him Master. Other Jedi referred to him as Master, but he was not conferred the rank of Master because the Jedi Council wanted to be an asshole to him. That's exactly what they wanted. They're like, well, you're the puppet of the Chancellor. Okay, the Chancellor wants to be on the Council. The Chancellor wants to be in power because I'm here to represent him. But I'm going to represent you to him. I'm the go-between. You have to give me the authority that the go-between deserves. I can't just be the flying monkey that you want me to be. You have to give me the name. You have to give me the power. You have to work with me so I can work with you. If you want to know what the Chancellor's doing, you have to help me here. But no, the Jedi Council wouldn't do it because the Jedi Council was fucking ineffective as shit. They're horrible people. They could not. Oh my God! Think about this. I brought this up in our Star Trek versus Star Wars series about how much of a failure the Jedi Council is. They're horrible as a government entity. They're horrible. They can't keep the peace. They're horrible about training their own people. For God's sakes, Yoda let children be murdered by Anakin Skywalker because he didn't realize what was going on. He didn't realize what was going on. So what he does 18 years later is does the same damn thing. Anakin was too old to begin the training. So was Luke. But what does he do? He trains them both anyway. He trains them both. And what happens? Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and Luke somehow manages to not be able to pass along this important lesson of, look, you have to find the balance between the light and the dark. You have to be able to function with it. You can't, let all your problems get to you. It's okay. Be calm. No, what happens is you have the exact same repetition of what happened during the fall of the Jedi to begin with. They're all murdered by one of their own because Yoda was a bad teacher. The Jedi were horrible. Oh my God! If Lucas had just realized this and put all those little switches in there, like you see the Jedi Order continually fucking Anakin Skywalker over, continually, and you see him being played by Palpatine because you know the outcome. No, but Lucas didn't, like I say, he didn't do that. He went to emphasize the relationship with Padme, and oh well, that's causing him all distress. What does Padme do? Is she something other than a whiny little character who has no purpose past being eye candy? I mean, we get that she's the mother of his kids. What else does she do? She doesn't have a functional role in episode 2, Attack of the Clones. She kind of has one. She does her own heroine thing. But after that, oh, she doesn't do anything else. She's just kind of there. Sorry, you're just there, Padme. I mean, why are you even in the story? And then what has him switch, from being possible good guy to being complete bad guy is Palpatine tells him it's in the best interest of the Republic to murder the Jedi. Okay, the Jedi are assholes, but we don't find that out. The Jedi are supposed to be the good guys, but yet you have a group of Jedi who comes to Chancellor, and they're even Palpatine told them they were committing treason. Even Palpatine's like, look, I've got the galaxy fighting itself. I'm responsible for the deaths of billions of people at this point in time, and you're going to raise arms against me. You're the treasonous ones. That should have been known. Like, Anakin should have had the common sense to look at it and say, look, Palpatine represents the government. This group, the Jedi, are trying to kill him. But no, he doesn't. He's like, oh, well, teach me. Like a dumbass, okay? Because he's been misled all these years, because he's so twisted, because he's been told that the Chancellor of the Republic is the one that's in power, and the Jedi are just here. We're the peacekeepers. Oh, you're the peacekeepers, but you're the one who can confuse people's minds. Okay? You never see at any point in time in Lucas's treatment of Anakin Skywalker, Palpatine actually using the Force to corrupt Anakin's mind. But you see the Jedi do it continually. So what you have happen is Anakin runs in, and he decides, I'm going to do the best thing for the Republic, and I'm going to kill the Jedi leader, who has been with me my entire life, has trained me to do this, trained me to do that. I'm going to murder him, and I'm going to help this guy because he's right. Okay, so you see that. And then the final thing that actually helps him switch is not any of the corrupting bullshit. No, it's Padme dying. It's fucking Padme dying. And all we get from him when she dies, when he finds out that she's dead, is he goes, no! It's stupid. George Lucas could not write Anakin Skywalker any worse. He couldn't. But yet, J.J. Abrams took that essence of Anakin Skywalker and put that into Kylo Ren, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. Fuck you, George Lucas.
So what you're saying is you support the Sith.
I'm saying that I completely support Kylo Ren.
Also, you completely ignored that Lexii went offline. She's very offended.
Not offended. I just like, oh, thank God, he's still talking. I'm just gonna sneak back in here like I left the lecture to go pee or something.
I'm sorry, I was on a roll. I have so many problems with George Lucas after seeing J.J. Abrams' version of Star Wars. Because, see, the thing is,
Because
Abrams,
so much better.
it is.
And at first I didn't want. At first I thought about it, and I didn't want to say this, but I think it's better than the originals.
No, because Empire Strikes Back. Just
no, I actually think this is a better movie than the originals. I'm serious.
It is in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, it is. But you still have the fantastic scene in Empire Strikes Back. Okay, for starters, the sequence.
I would say that the scene. Wait. I would say that the scene where Kylo Ren. Well, this goes into the major spoiler of the movie, which almost everyone knows about because the internet and people are terrible at keeping secrets. Do you want to tell the spoiler, or should I?
Well, actually, at this point, it's going to be hard to find someone who hasn't seen it because it is pretty much the best performing movie in the United States history right now. It's really hard to find someone who hasn't seen it.
It's globally the best of all time.
No, it's still not globally the best. It's North American.
Not globally?
No, North America.
It's encroaching on being global.
it's gonna take it a long time to be the best in global.
Keep in mind that it's still in its first theatrical run.
Yeah. Because Titanic and Avatar had so much more time to gain money. But it's performing the best of any. Oh, it still hasn't released in China, I believe.
Hey everybody, it's Jonathan from Radio Tokyo, and I'm sure you know at this point what it means whenever there's a random cut and it's me talking again. But apparently, at some point in time during stream, uh, it actually stopped uploading to YouTube, and it was not caught until the editing process began. So there is probably another 20, 30 minutes that y'all are going to have to miss out on. And it was probably the best part of the show. I say probably because we got into it about Star Wars and we started talking about all kinds of fun things and then told some hilarious jokes near the end. But I'm sorry, I really am. We thought that there was an issue that had been fixed with the show, uh, but apparently, when we stream, sometimes, depending on how many people we have available and whatnot, it can kind of mess with the stream. And like I said, it's on our end. It's not your end. Don't worry. Uh, we'll work through the problem and we'll figure it out. And we'll be back, of course, next week talking about more cool stuff. But there are shows planned for Monday and Wednesday as usual. So we'll talk to all of you next week. Don't forget, Shameless, the new season premieres on Sunday. That's we got that to look forward to, and there's uh, quite a few more political debates that are scheduled here soon. So we have plenty of to go on for the end of January. Not to mention, at some point in time, we are going to do a review of all the movies that are scheduled to come out this year. So that's not that stuff like Deadpool, Batman vs Superman, Suicide Squad, and more. But yeah, again, sorry that y'all had to miss the last of the show. It was good. It was worth it. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please remember to like this video, comment on it, share it, subscribe it everywhere. Like us on Facebook. Tell us what you wanted to hear us talk about. Tell us your thoughts about everything we discussed today. And we will talk to all of you later. Bye, everybody.